Acknowledging a need for change is never easy, let's face it. We tend to stick with the comfortable, the things we know, and find excuses not to change. So abandoning our old comfortable dreams for a new, unknown dream is pretty tough. We'd escaped Africa in 1978-79 for me, and lived in Canada 28 years. We achieved a lot. I mean, by any standards, people would say we've had a pretty comfortable life, and we retired here at 42 and 43 respectively. Jen got her dream home. We sat on the deck every day having our coffee and tea, and Jen sat out there reading her magazines or books with our little dog, and really it was a beautiful home, and as you can see, custom built for Jen. And what a beautiful view. That's just part of the view. That's the summer view. That's the winter view. Ski hill in the background. And of course, Jen, being a cookbook author, finally had her dream kitchen. Well, you see, it wasn't always quite as easy as that, because in the summertime, a lot of forest fires in British Columbia. In fact, this one, Okanagan Mountain Fire, was a disaster. And quite honestly, it really spooked us, but that wasn't really the reason for change. My mother-in-law was. And so pretty soon we were on our way to Panama, and 23 days of driving later, 11,000 kilometers, we had arrived in Panama, where we bought a nice 4-bedroom condo facing the ocean in an upscale neighborhood, San Francisco, and started settling into a very different life. On the left was Costa del Este. I call it Costa del Plenty because it's expensive. On the right was the city and the downtown, and quite honestly, a very pretty city. In front of us was the ocean, the Pacific, with all the ships parked there waiting to go through the canal. Certainly it wasn't without its charms, and as the evening arrived, we'd sit out on the balcony and watch the sunsets and the ships and everything, and have a beer or a glass of champagne or wine. And for Jen and me, it was pretty comfortable, and the boys loved it. They were in the city, but somewhere in the hills surrounding the city was a surprise that God had installed for us. And then one day, a few months later, we finally decided to go and have a look. And my goodness, were we ever surprised. 3,000 feet up and overlooks the city, just far enough to be completely private and in the jungle. And there was this beautiful home. And Jen just instantly fell in love with it. As you can see, we bought it, and we've lived there ever since as our primary home, not in the city anymore. It's surrounded by nature, has beautiful waterfalls, and we have a local little troop of monkeys that have babies every year, usually twins. Either way, the water's clean and gorgeous place. The birds, beautiful and quite astounding actually. And even the butterflies, the blue morpho butterfly is quite striking. And in the bottom of our garden, a sloth. We call her Samantha. She has babies generally every now and then. We also have beautiful waterfalls not too far away that we visit, and Jen feeds the birds bananas and sits and watched all the colorful birds come to her. This was very early days when the garden hadn't really matured. It wasn't much of a garden back then, but there is now. And but even so, I mean, it was so much more than we had in the city. Obviously, that's just a concrete jungle. But this is the real thing, a real jungle, and it was absolutely spectacular. So now, in the evenings, we could sit and watch the sunset and have a beer or a glass of wine here. Or during the day, we could go and explore many walks and pools, and even go and picnic, as you can see, at our beautiful waterfalls, Romeo, in one of the nicer, more private ones. And the little monkeys, well, they're really not monkeys, they're Jeff Roy's tamarins. They steal the bananas from the birds. Birds aren't too happy about that, but the birds never leave. They've got no real reason to. No point to migrate from something as beautiful as this. Below our home, there's this beautiful river just constantly flowing. And now Jen had not just a country home, and she had a city home as well, and all was well again, and we had transplanted. And actually we had money left over. Then John was the first to meet his true love, and Yara turned out spoke perfect English. She's quite a linguist actually. And not very long after that, well, there was the first wedding. Jen proposed in our garden before we went, her dress matching the garden and the flowers, as you can see. And off we went to the wedding of our youngest boy, son, grown-up man actually, and here we all are, all of us in the family. And now, back in South Africa, when she was 16 and 15, I met Jen down at the Wilderness, which is also a national park. Beautiful beaches there. We never got that in Canada. There's just you can't compare those beaches. But here we did. Just even the Sandblast Islands alone, let alone all the others. 365 of them, our favorite being Ikadub. And we go there quite often and just relax and enjoy the day and have a picnic. Are fantastic places. Isla Grande, I've done a video on that before. Just a beautiful little island and beach, which is relatively easy driving distance away, and certainly I go during the week though. Obviously this is when we went, because it gets busy on weekends. And then the apartments in the background there, and there's the ferry, and from there we go to Las-Perlas or Contadora, actually one of the islands there. And really it's a spectacular island, or islands, it's more than one. So Isla Contadora is the one we went to, but there's a lot of them. They're Las-Perlas Islands, and very worthwhile seeing. Much closer is Tocumen. It's just a very short ferry ride from the Amador actually, and you catch the ferry right in front of one of the restaurants at the end of the Amador, called Leños y Carbon. And when you get there, we call it the Isle of Flowers. I think a lot of people do, because it's just got so many beautiful flowers there. Anyway, it's a very quaint place. Got the oldest church in the Western Hemisphere, and basically, but our favorite of all is of course Coronado. It's just a little short of 2 hours driving distance. Anyway, we love it there, and as you can see, a lot of people do. Very rich people in Panama generally have their cottages there, and they go there for weekends or holidays. This is a resort there, the Blue Bay. Anyway, pretty soon our second son had proposed, and we had wedding number 2. So here Dan is, our eldest son, with his bride Raquel, and here we are at the Holiday Inn near the Panama Canal, all celebrating his nuptials. As you can see, the Panamanian women are very beautiful. However, so are the South African woman. She's 60, and 62 now, going on 63. Anyway, so Panama City, Balboa, very pretty, well done now, and it's going to have a beach shortly. And the Amador, of course, well, that's one of our favorites. That's a great place to go and relax and do stuff in the city. Really enjoy that place. And the Bridge of the Americas, there's so much to do in and around there. It's kind of at the start of everything on the Amador. You can watch the ships going from TGI Fridays out on the patio, or you can book into the hotel there and enjoy everything on hand. We often do actually, and that's Jen standing on a balcony from our room there. I tried to get Jen, that's below that room, tried to get Jen to take and pose standing on the Black Queen with her foot, but she wouldn't go for it. Anyway, so it turns out Coronado is our home from home in the Pacific, and we really, really like that. We go there once a month, and we won't change that for, well, probably ever. It's Pacific. It's probably as warm, if not warmer, than San Diego, but a very nice place. And the ocean is warm to swim in, not really a place that we worry about much with sharks. Never seen one. I don't think I've heard of a shark attack there since the early part of the last century, and even that was kind of quirky. So basically, but we grew up in South Africa and we look for them anyway, but we haven't seen any. Turns out though that jellyfish unfortunately arrive to spoil the party, generally by the middle of February, maybe a little later, and they stick around for a couple of months, and I don't like that. And of course the Pacific, if you go out into the open ocean, is prone to riptides, but where we swim is very protected, so it's not a problem. But out beyond that point there where the apartment is, it's open ocean, and it's much more likely to be a problem. We've not really felt unsafe yet, and I must admit we enjoy it very much. Now, Panama City is just beautiful, and it's rapidly evolving into a world-class city. Construction of the modern cruise terminal is underway, right now, and just about to start his construction of the fourth bridge, new metro line and highway. And of course the convention center's construction is almost finished actually. It's the most romantic place, the Amador, and we just love going there and relaxing. We were there to witness the opening of the new canal, an historic event. Anyway, our family has become Panama-centric now, and we're grandparents. Yeah, so there's a lot to like about Panama. And really, it's just an awesome place. So Panama, really, there's enough beauty in this country to last us a lifetime. So from Elizabeth and Nicholas, we hope we've given you some hope and told you that it's possible, you can transplant. John wrote these novels about his mom's life when he had lost the use of his hands, using his head, his feet, and his speech recognition for movement and mouse buttons, etc. Right here in Panama, though, the doctors in Canada had given up on him. John Hopkins Medical Center operated and restored the use of his hands. And that was just wonderful. You can imagine for him and for us parents to have that back. Now in Canada, what they call their free medical system is far from free. It cost me between $250,000 and $500,000 in the years I was there. And well, for Jennifer, coming to Panama saved her life because, instead of waiting 6 months and not being allowed to have things like MRIs, in 1 week we got everything we needed solved, and it wasn't a problem. We couldn't have waited the 6 to 9 months we'd have to have waited in Canada for 2 MRIs and all the procedures we needed. It was that critical, and the people that we know in Canada that did are either dead or dying. So not a good idea. Anyway, we hope we've given you enough information to make you feel comfortable about Panama. It's your choice, your decision. You've got to evaluate all the reasons you'd like to come, but we'd suggest pray. We did a lot of that, and we got some really good answers, and that's always a very good thing to do.